Welcome back to the Assassin's Creed comics. This is our complete story series where I take your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues of comic books and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand, and then I add a little bit of epic music and put funny voices in it to read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panel, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Assassin's Creed universe is about an organization known as the Assassins versus an organization known as the Templars, and they are both fighting for things known as the Pieces of Eden, which are artifacts from a time long ago. Both sides have the ability to enter into previous memories of individuals on their bloodline, so they can go relive the memories of someone from the past. Now, in our last video, Charlotte de la Cruz found out that her bloodline of ancestors were all a part of the Brotherhood of Assassins, and she was sought out by that Brotherhood. The problem was that she was recruited in an attempt to find another member who had betrayed the Brotherhood. Thinking that the Brotherhood member wasn't betraying them, assassins Xavier and Galena walked into a trap, resulting in Xavier's death and Charlotte rescuing Galena. That video will be linked down below so you can keep up to date on what's happening in this amazing storyline. After the run-in with the Templars, Charlotte, Galena, and Cody all head out to Mexico City to lay low for a while. Charlotte calls her mother to let her know that she's okay, but Galena tells her that she needs to get off the phone and give it to her. The Templars could be anywhere. Charlotte puts the phone back in her pocket, telling her that that's not going to happen, and then the two of them begin to argue whether Charlotte's family could actually be Templars when there's a knock at the door. Two doctors enter the room to examine Galena's leg, and the female says that it's a clean break. She just has to stay off of it. The other doctor reaches into his bag and he pulls out a gun. Before the man could fully pull out the gun, Galena opens fire, countering him by killing him with her own gun. Galena then tells Charlotte to grab the gun and don't let the woman leave. The doctor says that she has no idea what's going on. She's not with that guy he just started. Charlotte looks at the woman and says that she seems to be telling the truth. Galena takes the gun and smacks the woman across the face, knocking her out. Galena says, "Look, no torture, no killing. Do you feel better, Charlotte?" A little while later, Galena heads off to rest, and Charlotte tells Cody that she doesn't know what to do now. Galena knew what to do, but her? Cody tells her not to stress about it. There's a reason that she's here. She solved all of those riddles. Maybe she should hook up with Erudito. Charlotte asks what is that, and Cody tells her that it's a huge hacker organization. Charlotte then has an idea and asks Cody if his laptop can connect to the darknet. Back in Salem, when she was back in her own memories at Salem, Massachusetts, Constance mentioned something about the Keepers of Knowledge. So maybe Erudito might know something about that. Cody says that Erudito has embarrassed Abstergo before, sure, but they're also not with the Brotherhood either. They're their own thing. So Charlotte then spends the nights looking into Erudito's information and finally discovers that supposedly they have a secret meeting next week, but that location is password protected. As she continues to read, there's a hint at the password. What does the cute Pisha say? Charlotte thinks about it and remembers that her grandmother used to call her the nickname of one of their ancestors, Pishtako or something like that. But she was someone who fought during the fall of the Incan Empire. Charlotte wakes Cody up telling him that she's found something, but she also needs to go back to one of her ancestors in the Incan timeline, Peru, 1536. Charlotte begins to see through the eyes of her ancestor, Quilla, an Incan runner tasked with delivering message known as Quipas. Though as the night falls, she returns to the temple from a run, the other runners just stare at her because she's a female runner. Quilla then has to give her wishes to Tuli, a young boy that is about to go on his first run. She offers him medical leaves to help soothe his feet, but Tuli's father tells him not to address her. Tuli asks why not. Quilla is the fastest among them. But Tuli's father says that she will never be a true Chaskai, like the rest of them. She should just go home and be a proper wife. Later that night, Quilla sits with Tuli to give him his last lesson before he sets off. And she leaves him with a memento, a quipu that says, "Do not stop, always run." The next day, as she's preparing for the message to arrive at her runner location, the runner who arrives tells her that this message isn't for her. One of the other men will have to take the message. Quilla looks at the man and knows that she's faster than all of them, and she assumes that this is just a problem because she's a woman. So she takes it and she runs. And after running a little bit ahead, she stops to see what was so important about this message that they wouldn't trust it with her. She takes it out to read the knots, and she notices that the message is from no one. But it says, "The task is completed. The captain will give them everything that they wanted. Hopefully by the time this message reaches you, Manco will be dead." Her eyes widen as she realizes that Emperor Manco is about to be murdered. She runs ahead to find a Spaniard's horse sitting there. Without the Spaniard around, she decides that she's just going to take his horse, and as she does, the Spaniard jumps out shouting, "My name is Gonzalo Pardo, and there are two things you don't touch, my drink and my horse." Quilla says that she has an urgent message that will finally free them, but right now she's not afraid to die. As Quilla gets on the horse, a rock is thrown, hitting her in the head. The other messengers from before run up stating that they're glad because she's gonna have to die, and the Don tries to run in to help, but he ends up tripping and knocking himself out. the messengers begin to surround Quilla, telling her to give the Quippa back, and if she does, they'll only break her legs, but she shouts that she knows what the message says, and the man begins to swing. She manages to fight off one of them, and then they all surround and punch her down. But before the men can kill her, Don jumps up, kicking the men away, and as another jumps back in attacking Don, Quilla jumps up and chokes the man attacking Don. After Quilla kills him, her and Don look around to make sure that none of the others are moving, and then she says that she needs to deliver this message. He says that he would like to come along, but if he isn't welcomed by an Inca, she can at least take his horse, Felipe. If he lets her ride, of course. Quilla hops on the horse and then it bucks, throwing her off. Don says that it looks like he gets to come along then. But just as the two of them take off, Charlotte wakes back up from the animus asking why. Cody tells her that the van can only go for about 2 hours before draining the battery, and it takes about 7 to recharge. But before the two of them can figure out what to do next, Galena opens up the door to the van, telling them all to get ready. She has found Garcia Lopez. She's a Templar who has information about Joseph, the betrayer. Charlotte steps out, stating that she will not be a part of her kidnap and torture train, so she says that she's just gonna stay and try to figure out how to find where Erido's meeting is. Galena slams Charlotte back into the van, stating that every time she jumps into the animus, it exposes them. So if she isn't going to help, Galena will just smash the animus. Charlotte tells her fine, the chair needs to recharge anyway. And a short while later, at Chesapeake Park, Cody begins hailing their target. Up ahead, Charlotte spots her and says that she's going to move in. And then over the radio, Galena shouts for her not to move in, and just as their target spots Charlotte, Garcia takes off. Cody runs in to try and stop her, but as Cody gets close, Garcia punches Cody and sprays Charlotte with mace. As she gets away, Galena pulls the van around, shouting for them to get in, and tells Charlotte, great job. Now the Templars have seen her face. Back in the past, the Don and Quilla both eventually make their way to the city, where she tries to explain that the Emperor's life is in danger due to the Quippa that she has. But during their journey, the Don actually fell and broke the Quippa and was actually captured, and they had a struggle to get away. So, because she doesn't have the Quippa anymore, the guards of the city tell her that without it, she will not see the Emperor. Without the Quippa and with everyone telling her that she's making up stories, she decides to return to her home in the city. And as she enters the empty home, a man walks in asking what she's doing there. Quilla asks if he cannot even recognize his own wife, and AR says that he never expected to see her again. The two sit and they talk about Quilla's life as a messenger, but after a while, AR asks why is she really here. She says that she discovered a message that the Emperor was going to be killed and she needs to warn him, but she doesn't know who else to turn to. AR stops her, stating that he no longer works with his father. He felt that after she left the village to become a messenger, it looked bad on the family, but they will talk to him to see if they can receive counsel. The two leave and they head to see Ayer's father, but as Ayer explains the situation, Tudi Kusi tells them that they have no proof, and besides that, this woman has brought this family shame. But before Ayer can plead any further, a voice calls out to Quilla, and the Don charges through the door. He shouts that he's here to save Quilla, and that he's sorry for breaking the door. But before he can swing his rock, he falls over drunk. Tudi Kusi orders the guards to take his son away, as well as Quilla. He hereby sentences Quilla to death. Back in the current times, Charlotte begins to wake up and she asks what the hell is going on. Galena says that she was supposed to watch the van, not use the animus. Charlotte says that she needs to find Erido, but Cody tells her not anymore she isn't. The batteries are cooked. Charlotte starts to put on her jacket, but Galena tells her that she will not leave. She then tells her that they wouldn't be in this mess if it wasn't for her, and Charlotte jumps out of the van, and Galena says that they're just gonna have to leave her to the wolves. Some time passes as Charlotte walks around the town trying to figure out how she can just get home. But as she walks around, she notices someone has been tailing her for a while. Even though Galena would tell her not to engage, she would rather not be surprised. She jumps around the corner and sees Galena holding something. Galena unwraps the handkerchief and shows Charlotte Cody's ear. She says that she went looking for her after she left, but when she returned to the van, she found this, and it isn't the Templars. It's the Cartel, and they only have 20 minutes left to go meet them. Over at the local arena, the Cartel guards report that there's nothing to report just yet, and then the lights go out. Charlotte jumps in, kicking one of the guards, and tells Galena that the south end is clear. Beata, the man who organized this whole thing with the Cartel, and the individual that they kind of irritated in our previous story, points his gun at Cody, and shouts to them to turn the lights back on or the kid dies. The guards around Verrera begin to get shot as Galena tells Charlotte she's wasting time. Charlotte tries to say fine, she screwed up, but Galena tells her that they needed to kill that other doctor, because she talked, they're in this mess. Charlotte then runs out into the field as Galena continues shooting the other guards, but as the other guards fire at Charlotte, she jumps behind a set of barrels. As Charlotte looks back to see if the coast is clear, she checks with Galena, and as Galena is about to state that she can't see her, Charlotte's head is slammed into the barrels, as Biara says that it looks like they both picked the same place to hide. Biara then shouts to Galena to come out or they're both dead, Cody and Charlotte. 2 bullets hit the barrels, and Charlotte shouts that they gotta get a better angle. Biara then fires a shot into Charlotte's foot, shouting for Galena to come out. Galena walks out stating that she's keeping her gun until the other two are safe. But as Charlotte gets back up, Galena opens fire again. Bierda calls out for his girl to come out. It's time for her to show herself. and Charlotte begins running towards Cody, but just as she gets close, the doctor begins firing on them. Suddenly, the sound of a helicopter is nearby, but before the doctor can see what's going on, the helicopter starts to fire on her. Biera gets up screaming, but he too is shot just as he gets to his girlfriend's body. A voice tells Biera that they shouldn't have gone after those people. His father even told him not to. And then he shoots Biera and grabs Charlotte, telling her that she doesn't look like much from what he's heard about her. She jumps back, stating that most people don't take a girl with a side do seriously. Charlotte grabs a nearby gun and aims it at the man, but before the man can do anything, another voice tells him to stop and give them some space. A new man tells Charlotte to allow him to introduce himself. His name is Ortega Sanchez. She realizes that this man is a Templar and then holds the gun to herself, telling him to back away. She explains that she'll go with them as a prisoner, but the deal is that Cody and Galena get to leave Mexico. And after 24 hours of them being safe, then she will turn herself in, otherwise she will kill herself. Ortega says that she really is overestimating her own value, but her demands will not do. Too bad, because he was really looking forward to learning from her ancestors. Charlotte says that she's got something else that they might want. Erido's elite are having a meeting in 3 days. She will use the 24 hours to get them the location. Ortega leans down and says, "Now that would be a prize." And then he hits Charlotte in the foot with his cane, stating, "You have a deal, so you might want to hurry and get back into the animus." Back in the past, Turikusi tells Quilla that the man that she is with is actually an assassin sent by the Spaniards to kill the Emperor. In fact, he is the one who killed Manco's father. The guards throw Quilla on the ground with the Don, and Turikusi tells him to go ahead and bring them to the mountainside. Quilla will be sacrificed in the Sapa Inca's name, and his son will wield the club. Quilla and Don try to talk AR out of this, but eventually they get to the mountainside and he raises the club, telling her to be silent. This is what must be done. As Ayer holds the club up, he tells Quilla that he loved her. And after hitting the guards, he tells her, and he still does. After freeing Quilla, the two kill the guards, and Quilla says that they have to hurry back to the village. Ayer says that they'll never make it back in time, and then Don's horse Philippe runs up. Quilla tells Don to get on. They need to go save the Emperor. And Don tells him to go ahead, he's just a failure. Quilla tells him despite everything, she thinks that the great Don Gonzalo Pardo was great. It's just too bad that alcohol is the only one who convinces him of it. A short while later, Quilla and Ayer sneak into the Inti Raymi ceremony where the Emperor is. As the two start to walk to the back, the guards begin to patrol the area. Ayer says that there's only one way to stop his father, the man behind the entire plot. And he runs up, knocking the guards over, telling Quilla to run. Back in the Emperor's chambers, Manco sits as Turikusi presents him with his drink, poisoned, prepared to kill him. Quilla runs and smacking the cup away, telling him not to drink it. She knows her actions insult him, but a guard then knocks Quilla to the ground and Manco asks, "What is this?" Turikusi says that this female messenger was to be sacrificed for working with the Spanish, but he will have her killed right here. As the Emperor walks away, Turikusi leans down to Quilla, telling her that he wasn't going to poison him. He has a much more elegant plan. Then from one of the coffins in the back, a man gets out and slits the guards' throats. The assassin makes his way to Manco and he raises his dagger. But before he can strike down, Don runs in, throwing a dagger into the assassin's chest. The assassin pulls the dagger out and begins charging at Don as he looks at him, telling him, "I've never seen that before." Manco steps between the two of them, telling them that it is enough, and the assassin punches and knocks Manco to the ground. Before the assassin could strike again, Don runs into the man and jumps on top of him. While the two struggle, Quilla bites on Turikusi's hand and runs over, pushing the assassin off the ledge. But while that happens, Turikusi sneaks off, trying to get away with his attempted murder, but he's then stopped by his son. After capturing Turikusi, Ayer runs in just as Manco tells Quilla that he's heard so much about the female messenger. He would like to make her an offer, allowing her to become his personal messenger, if she so chooses. Later, Quilla walks Don out to say their goodbyes, but before leaving, Don hands Quilla a quippa and tells her that if she ever wants to fight for a worthy cause, his organization would like someone like her. He goes on stating that the quippa will give her entry into the Assassin Brotherhood. So when they ask for the code, Cute Pishta, give them the password. Quilla holds the quippa up and reads it, and says that the password is his name? Don Gonzalo Pardo? Quilla says that she doesn't know, but Don says that he knows. There's only one thing that she loves, and that's running. Back in the current time, Charlotte jumps up stating that she knows the password. She gets on the computer to enter it and she's given a set of coordinates. The next day, Charlotte notifies Ortega that she has a location and tells Galena and Cody goodbye. Ortega pulls up and Charlotte receives the message the Seagull has flown. But before she can get into the car, two other cars drive up, pitting Ortega's car. From the rooftops, a man opens fire with an RPG on the vehicle, and the men get out, grabbing Charlotte, and they drag her into an alleyway. The men tell the two figures that they are thankful for allowing them to get their revenge on Bira. Charlotte looks over at the figures and sees Cody and Galena. She asks if they made a deal with the cartel, but Galena tells her to get up. She's annoying and her shaved head on the side thing is stupid, but they are a team. The team hops on a plane together to fly back to Argentina, and as they arrive at the airport, they see a man holding a sign, Don Gonzalo Pardo. Charlotte runs up stating that it's for them, and the man asks them to follow him. He leads them into a room, and Charlotte looks across the table and says, "Lita?" Galena asks who's that, and Charlotte says that Lita is her grandmother. This story is crazy complex with a ton of stuff going on. It is really difficult to follow at times, but I tried my best to condense it down so we didn't put all the extra stuff into there. Overall, I really enjoy the Assassin's Creed comic books, and this does resolve in an interesting way, which leads into the next series. And trust me, if you're looking for the classic Assassins, Ezio arrives next. Subscribe to the channel Comicstorian to get your daily comic books, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Comicstorian. I'll see you next time right here.